tomorrow you just have a look how to do it, and
It's recording.
tomorrow, yeah.
One second. Pawan, can you see who has pinged Sindhura? Pawan,
Yeah, how to join me?
can you share that link once to her?
Yeah, I think somebody else already shared some time back. I
Yeah,
think
I
Ashwini.
shared, but can you please share once? Okay, he has shared.
Okay, I'll help her. You go ahead. I'll help her.
Sorry. Any doubts here? See what happens? By default, when you say new and the student, this is invoking the constructor. See, constructor is a method which has the same name as the class, and it is going to create an object in the heap. By default, see, I will remove this, but still my code works. Okay, I'm calling here, I'm calling the constructor, but I didn't write any method which has name as student. But how is it working? It is because by default, even if you don't write the constructor, by default the compiler will add this statement internally. Okay, this this will be automatically added. That is the reason this is working. Okay, if you provide, it is fine. Even if you don't provide, the constructor function method will be automatically added by the compiler. Okay, so this constructor, when you say new student, what is happening? This constructor function gets executed and it knows how to create the object in the heap, and after creating the object, it will populate the properties with the values you have given. Got it? Let me see what will be the values before I set. Okay, see, by this time the constructor has created an object and I am trying to print the value. I didn't even set anything. Can you see what happened? I didn't set the value, but how come this 0 came? It is because all the variables, primitive variables like int and long will be initialized by default with 0. Okay, and hi Raju.
Yeah, Anil, can you hear me?
It's very low.
Okay, okay. Yeah, you continue. Maybe I think some problem with that.
Do you have any question?
Yeah, I didn't follow the part of constructor part. Can you please explain it again? I
See,
didn't follow the constructor part.
by default, even if you don't write this statement, constructor is a method which has the same name as the class name. Okay, and it won't have any return type. Okay, it is not going to
Okay.
return anything. Okay,
Okay.
and even if you don't write this, this will be added by the compiler when you compile this Java
Okay.
file. Okay, that is the reason when you say new student, what is happening? It is invoking the default constructor. If you, even if you provide, it is fine, but if you don't provide, automatically it will be added. So this constructor knows how to create an object in the heap like this. Okay, before you provide any values, what will be there? Like for the integer and long, the default values will are 0. That is the reason when I run this program, it is showing SID is 0. Okay,
Okay.
you understand this reference concept? See, this is called reference variable. That means this
Yeah, I got that. I got that
this
actually.
st and 2 are two reference variables which is
Yeah.
pointing to object on the heap. It is not the object. Remember, all of you, it is not the object. It is the way to get to the object in the heap. Okay,
So ST and 2 are not objects. They are just
they are
reference to
not
the
objects.
object.
It is like in C you have the pointer concept, right? But in Java you don't. They are not giving directly access to the pointer level. Okay,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
something through which you can get a hold of the object in the heap. It is not the object. Okay.
Okay. Got
So
it.
when you manipulate that reference, like using the reference, if you modify again to some other name, the object will be modified. Okay. So that is the
Okay.
constructor. So that is the constructor function.
Okay.
Okay, this is the you have to know this. By default, integer and long will have 0, and the floating values by the float and double. There are data types of, like, for integer values there are two types, integer and long. Okay, integer is like 4 bytes, short is 2 bytes. Okay, float is there are two for the storing the decimal values, like we have float and double. For float and double, the default values are 0.0. Okay, and for the objects, I'm just writing here, you will I will give you, for objects default value will be null. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
for the float and double, default values are 0. Okay, and for short and int, the default value is 0. Got it? You have to remember this point. That is the reason in the student ID is short, sorry, int, right? So the default value is 0. Once I set the value, it will be whatever the value we have set. Like I am printing again. See now what happens? By default it is 0, but after I set the value it became 1. That is the reason now when I print again the student ID, now it is 1. Okay, you have to remember this. And the object will have default null. Like now what will happen if I want to create two more students? What I have to do?
Two more reference objects.
Two more objects I am creating. Okay. Okay, now I am saying, okay, I am giving student ID. Yes, I want to create one more. Okay. After you observe these statements, we are repeating the same thing, right? Like one dot name, one dot SID. Sorry, like we
Yeah.
have to say two dot name and two dot SID. In the same way, three dot name and three dot SID. See, we are accessing the name and setting the values like three dot name, three dot SID. Instead of that, there is something called overloading concept. Overloading means one method can be used in different forms. Based on the arguments you are going to pass, it will behave differently. Okay, let me show you. By default, as I told you, even if you don't provide the constructor, the no argument constructor means it doesn't take any arguments, right? So this is by default provided by the compiler. Okay, you can write another constructor with the same name. Okay, remember, for the constructor there won't be any return value. Okay, and this should match exactly with the class name. The constructor name always matches with the student. So whenever you see any method which is having the class name same as the class name and without return type, it is called constructor. Okay, now what I am doing,
You the rules for constructor over there on the top with comments or something.
what
There's
comment?
a rule for rules for constructor. Can you just write there on the top
Yeah,
with some comments?
okay. Now I am creating 2 argument constructor. By default, this is provided by compiler. Even you can write, if you don't write, it is by default provided. I'm going to create another constructor. Can you observe the same method behaves differently? Now let me complete the code and I will show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to create student 4. Student 4 I want the ID to be 4 and his name is student 4. Is it not easy now? Earlier I am saying after creating the object I am using the properties that dot reference variable dot name and I am providing the name, and the same way reference variable dot student ID equal to 3. But now when I call this constructor, what will happen? This method will get executed. Whatever you have passed the values like 4 and name will be reached here, and this means I am so the 4 will be set to student ID and this student 4 which has passed you have passed, that will be set to the name. This means the current object. See, what is the current object now? I am at line 27. So in this line, what is the current object? The object 4 which is in the heap. So these 4 and student 4 will be set to the student 4. Is it not easy? It is very easy, right? This is the use of
Constructor.
2 argument constructor. Like a constructor can be overloaded. This is called overloading. The same name with different functionality. If you provide arguments, these will be used to construct the object. If you don't use that, what we have to do? First we have to create the object and then we have to assign the properties individually. Instead of that, I can use the 2 argument constructor. If you have 3 properties, you have to another property here to receive the values and you have to set the student ID and name properties. Any doubts here? Are you able to understand?
What is here?
Sorry?
What is this refers to here?
Yeah, this means current object. So at line here, when I say inside, I am saying this, right? So at this line, when I say this, it is referring to object 4. See, 4 is referring to one object in the heap, right? So at line 27, this will refer to object 4. Okay, that means I am, whenever I say this dot SID, I am assigning the 4 to the student ID and I am assigning the student 4 to the current object. What is the current object? This 4 is referring to one object in the heap, right? That is called current object. At line 21, if I say this, that will be referring to the object which is being referred by 3. 3 is pointing to another object, right? So when I say inside the method this, it is referring to object 3. At line 15, when you say this inside the method, it is referring to object 2. Got it? Are you able to understand, everyone, what is the use of this?
Yeah.
Sandeep?
No.
Any doubts here? Ashwini, are you able to understand?
Yes, I'm able to understand.
Okay. Do you understand the overloading concept also?
Yes. So the thing we are doing is at the student.java, we are creating this .sid and this .name so that it is easy to decrease the steps, and at the point of the access modifier, we can directly write student.4 and give the name number
Yeah,
directly, right?
instead of that, we can create the overloaded constructor. Like constructor can take multiple arguments, and using this syntax, we can initialize the object. Instead of saying,
Okay.
suppose, since we have only two properties, it is easy to write like student.sid is equals to student.name. Whereas sometimes in real time, you can have 20 properties. It is very difficult to write 20 properties using student ID or dot property one, student ID dot property two, student ID. It is very difficult to repeat. So in those cases, we can create the constructor with overloaded constructor. Means that it will share the same name, but it will take the arguments, and these will be, you will pass the value arguments, and those arguments will be set to the current object. Okay,
I got you.
this is called constructor overloading. Overloading means the same method will have different forms. Say, assume you are writing one class called addition. Okay, addition receives two arguments like int a comma int b. Okay, but sometimes user may send floating values. For that, in C you have to create two methods. Like I will create this. I will show you. This is called constructor overloading. I am showing another addition. Okay, public int add. Okay, int 1 comma int 2. What it will do? Just return the sum of two numbers. See, this will be used for both concatenating the strings as well as for addition. Okay, if I want to test this method, always the control starts from main method. Okay, I am creating, you know, right? You are able to understand now. Whenever you want to create an instance for a class addition, what we have to do? Addition, give the reference variable, and you have to call the constructor function like new, and the constructor will be always same name as the class name. So you have to say addition. Okay, I have to pass the arguments. See, this method receives two arguments, 1 comma 2. You have to pass the two arguments like 5 comma 6. Okay, so this is returning the integer value. So if I want to store that, I want to say, this is called declaring the variable. Okay, to call the method, you have to say reference variable dot the method name. Okay, and I'm going to print the result. This is concatenation operator. To append something to the string, you have to say plus, and you have to print the, yeah, let us see the output. Oh, I'm printing the object instead of result. I have to print the result, right? Got it? The result is 11. What if I want to pass two decimal numbers? Okay, I can't pass the, instead, like I can create in C, you have to create a separate method with a different name. Okay, but here in Java you can say float now. What happens when you pass integer values? This method will be invoked. When you pass floating variables arguments, this method will be in. If you observe, they both share the same name. This is called overloading the function. That means the same name behaves in a different manner based on the input you provide. Okay, this is called overloading. Now I will test with the decimal numbers. See, I am calling the same method. See, already we have used result, so we have to give the another name like result 2, and I want to print the values.
Return type is not matching.
Where is that? Okay.
The main method, the return
Oh,
type is not matching.
see, I'm passing the decimal values. There are two data types for receiving the floating points. One is float and another one is double. Float is like 4 bytes and double is almost double, like it contains 8 bytes. Okay, for storing the big numbers you have to use double. Okay, otherwise we can use float numbers. Now see the result. We have to print the result to 2. Can you see? Internally, it can understand. Based on the arguments, the appropriate method will be picked. In this case, it has picked the first method because we have passed the integer values. Whereas when you pass double values, automatically this method will be picked up. Okay, this is called method overloading. The same method behaves differently based on the input you provide. This is called overloading. Earlier in the previous example, I have shown you constructor overloading. Okay, the same constructor, we have one without arguments and one with the arguments. Constructor is nothing but a method. It will create the object. Only that is the difference between a normal method and a constructor method. Normal method, it won't share the same class name with the as the class name, whereas the constructor should always have the same name as the class name. If you don't give the name as same as a class name, it won't be called as constructor. Also, if you give some return type, it won't be called as constructor. Constructor method won't have return type. We should not add the return type. For all other functions, the return type will be there. Okay, if you don't return anything in Java, you will say void. Void means I am not returning anything. So far, any doubts? Are you able to understand the overloading concept?
Yeah, good.
Yes.
Yes.
If everybody is able to understand, can you please help him to understand how to create another constructor with one more parameter like standard or the class for the same class?
Suppose in this class I want to add some.
You add standard for the same student class.
I want to add marks.
Many marks.
Sorry.
You want to add one more constructor? I didn't get you.
No, I want to add one new property.
Okay.
Double marks.
Okay. Yeah.
Then we have to pass the marks to the constructor. Double marks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and you have to say this
Yeah,
one
this
equal to.
marks is equal to.
See, why I have given this explicitly this variable means since the SID and the SID both are same, there will be confusion. If it is some other value name, there is no confusion and this need not be given. You can simply say this SID is equal to the one you passed. Why I gave explicitly this means, in the previous example, the student ID and this variable are matching, so there will be confusion. That is the reason we have to explicitly say this. Otherwise, there is no need of this. By default, implicitly, it will understand that whenever we are assigning the value, it will be treated as a current object. Okay.
Okay, what if I want to add only, like now we have three argument constructor. What if I want only SID and name? I don't want marks. I want to create an object with SID and name. I don't want marks. So what you will do?
So instead of passing 3, we will pass 2 to the constructor.
So you mean you want me to add another constructor?
No, in the first constructor, to create one more constructor, and instead of passing 3 in string and marks, we'll pass the 2.
Right, you mean to say you will add another constructor with the 2 parameters, right?
Yeah. Is it not possible?
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
One second.
Yeah.
See, these are the topics I just prepared everything like. See, this is the concept I told you just now, overloading. The same method which will take the multiple arguments based on the arguments you provided, the method will be invoked, right? If you pass the integer values, the appropriate method will be chosen. And in the same way, I have covered both, like the constructor overloading as well. There is nothing new in constructor overloading, just the method name will be same as the class name. So if you pass the different arguments to the constructor, it is called constructor overloading. And if you create multiple methods with the same name and with different arguments, that is called method overloading. Okay. So now I will cover the inheritance concept. Okay.
Okay.
See, inheritance means like let us take an example like animals. There will be different types of animals, right? The base class, like there will be many animals, and the common properties you have to keep in one class, which is called superclass. Okay. Like when you look at the objects in the real world, there will be like classes, like animals. Like instead of inheritance means through the superclass, like we have to create one class with common properties, like all the animals eat, right? So we will create that eat method in the superclass, and the other we have to write subclasses which inherit the properties, like we inherit the properties from our parents, right? In the same way, we create one class called base class. From that, we are going to create n number of classes, and all these classes inherit the properties from its parent class. What is the advantage of the inheritance? Instead of repeating the code in all the child classes, the logic that is common to all the classes, we are going to create in the parent class, and all the subclasses will extend this parent class. So the common logic will be inherited by the subclasses. So what is the advantage? So if there is any change in the future after you create the class, suppose if you write the logic, common logic in all the classes, what happens in software? The requirement always changes. So if you want to make some modifications in the common logic, if there are 100 classes, you have to modify the logic in 100 places, which is very difficult. Instead of that, if you place the common logic in the parent class, there we have to change at only one place when the requirement changes. Is it not advantage? It is very advantage, right?
Yeah.
When the requirement changes, there will be only one place to change. If you repeat the same code across all the child classes, it is going to be a nightmare. When the requirement changes, you have to quickly modify all the 100 classes, and you have to move the code to the production system, which is very time consuming. So that is not a proper design. It won't work well when the requirements are changing at a fast pace. You decided to write, so that is the reason the common properties should be always in the parent class, and the child classes will inherit the parent properties. Okay, let us create one class. Okay, I'm saying creating one class. I'm going to create in another package. I'm create a class called shop. com.demo.inheritance. What I'm doing is, like, if I am teaching the inheritance concept, I am going to place all the classes in inheritance package. In the same way, when I'm teaching the access modifiers, I'm creating the package like com.demo is always common for every Java file, and then I'm adding that concept name so that it will be easy to refer in the future. So if you take the shops, there will be different types of shops in the real world, right? Like we have jewelry shop, okay, we have sweet shop, and there are n number of shops. What will be common across all these shops? Every shop will have the name, right? Is it correct?
Yeah.
Whether it is jewelry shop or sweet shop or some XYZ shop, there will be always name, there will be always the address. So these things, and I'm going to create properties for the shop like private, name. So every shop will have the shop name, right? In the same way, every shop will have some address. Is it correct? So I'm going, by default, the constructor will be created. So I'm generating the setter getter. Right click on the class, click choose source, and choose generate getters and setters. Instead of we writing, that is the advantage of using IDE. If you don't use IDE, we have to write all these methods. Okay, whenever you want to set the name of the shop, you have to call the set name and you have to pass the shop name, right? To get the shop name, we have to call get name, which will return the name of the shop. Let us create one instance of the shop. Public static void main. As you know, by default, when you execute the Java file, by default this method will get executed. The syntax should be same. In the coming in the next sessions, I am going to explain each and every point, why it is called public, why it should be called static. If I explain this, it will be like it will be tough for you to understand, because we are in the beginning. So for now, we have to remember that main method will be always like this: public static void main. As you know, void means this method won't return anything. Okay, I will explain what is static and what is public. You already know. Public means it can be accessed from anywhere. Main should be public, because when you are executing, the JVM is some outside entity, right? If you don't place a public, it can't access the main method. That is the reason main method should be public, because this method will be invoked by the JVM when you execute this class. Got it? So only thing left is static. I will explain in the next coming sessions. You have to pass the string args. This is, we have to pass string array. The why we need to pass, like to the main method we can pass some arguments also, like we are passing the arguments to any other normal method. To the main method we can pass string array. This is array syntax. The arrays I will explain in the coming sessions. For now you have to think that main always receive one argument called string array. Okay, you can pass the set of strings, and I'm going to create shop. You know, right, how to create an object? You have to give class name and the reference variable, and you have to say new shop. What will happen? This will call the constructor, default constructor provided by the compiler. Okay, I'm saying to set one dot set name. Okay, shop will be like shop 1. Okay, one dot set address Hyderabad, something like. I'm going to print these values. You know that 1 is not an object, it is a reference or pointer to an object in the heap. How to print the values from the object? Through reference variable. You have to say reference variable dot the method name. You have to say reference variable dot get name. You can print the same both values, like shop name and shop address, in the same line also, like one dot get address. Okay, so far is it clear? I just created the shop with name and address, and I created that and printed the values. Okay, shop name is shop 1, address is, it is in Hyderabad. So in real world there will be different types of shops, like we can have jewelry shop and we can have sweet shop. Okay, now what I'm going to create is, like, I'm going to create another class called jewelry shop. Okay, now what we have to say, extends shop. Okay, that means this jewelry shop inherits the properties and methods from the shop. Okay, likewise I'm going to create another class called bookshop. Okay, what we have to do? You have to say extends. Extends is the keyword to inherit the properties from a base class. You have to mention the base class. What is the base class? For every shop, the common properties I have created in one class called shop. So since every shop will have shop name and shop address, there is no need to repeat those properties in all the shops. If you have 10 shops, don't create the properties again and again in all the shops. Instead of that, create one base class or called super class, put the common properties there, and you just say extends. Okay, so now what will happen? You have two shops which are of type shop, bookshop and jewelry shop. let us create okay. How to create an object for jewelry shop? You have to say class name. See, in Eclipse, write a few letters in the class name and hit Control space. Automatically, it will complete the class name. Okay. Give some part of the class name and hit Control space. It will automatically complete the class name. JS is equal to new. See, I am not writing. I am clicking Control space. Automatically, it completed. These are the advantages of using IDE. Okay, and I'm saying JS dot. Can you see? Did I add the address and name in the jewelry shop? No. But how is it showing? It is because since the jewelry shop is extending shop, I can use the same properties from subclass also. Like I can set address Hyderabad, set name. Okay. Kalyan Jewelers. Are you able to understand? We didn't declare address and name in jewelry shop. Did we have any variables here? No. But how am I able to use this? It is because I extended the base class. Okay. Now I am going to print the values. Name. This is called plus is called concatenation operator. If you want to add anything to the string, you have to use plus and reference variable dot get name plus I want to add another variable like name and address. This is called static content. This is not dynamic. Whenever you get the dynamic content, use a plus and say reference variable dot get address. Okay, I'm going to run this. Are you able to understand? Kalyan Jewelers and Hyderabad. Okay, and now I'm going to create another class called bookshop. I'm going to copy the same. I will do little modifications. Instead of jewelry shop, I just need to change that. Okay, this is bookshop. Okay, this is in Bangalore and the name of the bookshop is Himalaya. Okay, I'm going to run this file. I created one bookshop. This bookshop extends shop. That is the reason we are able to access the common properties like address and name. I didn't declare anywhere here, but still I am able to set the name and address for this bookshop. This is because I am extending the superclass called shop. This is called superclass. Okay, this is superclass or base class. That means in the base class or superclass, we are going to add the common properties and the common methods. And from that superclass, we are going to create a child class which will extend the superclass or base class. I'm going to run this. Right click, run as Java application. Okay. Are you able to understand? I have created the base class. From that, I have created two child classes. Okay. Now, assume there is something called display. Okay. There is a method public void display. I'm just printing that I am in super class. Okay, display method means how the shop looks like. Okay, does every shop looks the same? Jewelry shop and the bookshop? No, right? Jewelry shop will have the posh glass entrance and all those things. Books will have like normal entrance and normal, there won't be any glasses, right? So if I call the display method, so what we have to do? Let us see. In the same method, I will call the js.display and see the output. You observe this point, and I'm going to explain the concept called overriding now. Okay, I'm adding js.display method. Let us see what will happen. Can you guess anyone what will be the output?
Yeah, this.
I didn't write any method called display here, and I'm calling the display. Will it work or not?
Yeah, it will work.
Okay, and what will be the output?
The same which is written on the main
Yeah.
class.
I'm in super class, right?
I'm in super class.
And for the jewelry shop, I'm going to run this. What will happen? The same thing, right?
Yeah, the same thing. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is display method is not same for every shop. As I told you,
Yeah.
jewelry shop will have a display completely different, and I don't want the version which is coming from super class. Bookshop will have the different ambience, and the jewelry shop will have completely different ambience. I don't want the version that is coming from the super class. In those cases, what we have to do,
You have to override, right?
that is called something called overriding. Means I don't want the content that is coming from the super class.
Yeah.
I want to add my, I want to customize the method according to child class requirements. Okay, now what we have to do is add the method, same method. You have to add the method. See, what is called overriding? When the child class has any method which has the same name as in the super class, it is called overriding the method. Okay, display is there in super class, right? And in the child class, you are adding the same method. That means it is called overriding. That means you are modifying the superclass version according to your requirements. Now I will say I am in jewelry shop. Jewelry shops display method. I'm in bookshops display method. Okay. Now I will run. What will be the output? Can anyone guess?
Yeah. I'm in the bookshop display.
Why is it changed? Earlier it printed the super. I am in super class, right?
Because yeah, we changed in this in our class, right?
It is because the same method, first it will check, always it will check first in the class, in the reference variable. What is the reference variable here? JS, right? It will first check whether display method is there in bookshop. Is it there? Yeah, that is why it will use this version instead of superclass version. Let me run this. What is showing it now? I mean this call is made, this method is executed. Okay, if I remove, will it execute it or will it give any error?
Yeah, it will execute, but
Because as I told you, what will happen internally, whenever you call any method, first it check whether this method is there in this class or not. Is it there? No. Earlier it was there. That's why it printed I am in bookshop. Now what happens? Display method is not there. So generally it will give error. But what happened? Since we extended shop, it will go one step. It will go to the parent of this class and it will check whether display method is there in the super class or not. If it is there, it will use that version. If it is, that is the reason. If it is present here, it will use this version. It won't use superclass version. Is it fine?
yeah.
This is called method overriding. The superclass method, you are modifying it according to your requirement. Do you understand what is the why we have to go for overriding? Because the display won't be same for all the shops. Jewelry shop, the display method will behave different, and bookshop it will be very different. Like for jewelry shop, the glass doors will be there, so you have to write something like glass door, something like that is called overriding. Let me run. Okay, this is in bookshop. I am going to execute here. What will happen? You have to remember this. I'm in jewelry shop display. First, it will always check the class. What is the JS? Jewelry shop. So it will first check display method whether it is here or not. If it is there, so it executed. If I remove this, it will use the superclass version. Okay, this is called method overriding. So you have learned two concepts. Overloading means the same method with different arguments. Constructor overloading means same method with different arguments, that is called overloading. And overriding means you are going to redefine the method in the child class to suit to your requirements. All of you, are you able to understand?
Yeah.
Any doubts to anyone? Is it doubt or clear? Ashwini? Okay, it's clear. Okay. Suppose I have, let me take you bookshop. I'm bookshop BS, just I'm modifying. I have two shops now. BS. See, I'm going to cover very important point now. Watch carefully what I'm doing. Shop S equal to new shop. Okay. Okay, actually it is not returning anything. That's why we need not give to system.out. As it is not printing anything, there is no need. Okay. Now what I have done, I have created a reference variable called yes, and I created one object for the base class. Okay, let me run this. I mean, what it displayed? It called the method in the shop. Okay, it is from the superclass. Okay, now what I'm watch carefully what I'm doing. It is very important point. You will use whenever always this concept. Shop I'm creating new reference variable. What is this? What I'm doing? Is it valid or not valid? Will it give error?
No.
Yeah.
Anyone? Just
No.
discuss so that you will understand the concept very well. What are you
It
thinking?
doesn't give any error.
Why? Because this is shop and I am assigning the jewelry shop. Why it won't give any error?
We can create any number of objects.
No. What I'm saying is the reference variable is shop, but I passed
Oh.
the object for the jewelry shop.
Yeah.
Any other comments? The important point here I'm going to say you is like superclass reference can hold subclass object. This is very important point in Java. There will be lot of advantages with this point. Understand? What is superclass reference? In this case, what is the superclass? Is it shop or jewelry shop or bookshop?
Sure.
Shop is
Shop.
Shop.
superclass. So I created a reference variable. To this, I can assign any child class object. It can be jewelry shop, it can be bookshop, it can be any shop that you are going to create in future also. See, right now I have only 2 shops. Tomorrow you may create another class. Even that object also you can assign to this super.
Yeah, Anil, this new reference object is a child reference object or a shop reference object?
Which one here?
Yeah, it's the shop.
This
So
child, right? Jewelry shop object means child, right?
okay.
Child class. I am creating the child class object.
Okay.
See the point that I written here. Superclass reference. This is superclass. It can hold any subclass object. I can write like even like this. I can say book. Are you able to understand? This is superclass reference, but I assign bookshop now. This is superclass reference. I assign jewelry shop here. Okay. Let us see what will happen. I'm calling jewelry shop dot display and I'm calling bshop dot display. Can you tell what will be output here?
I am in superclass.
Okay.
No,
Same
I'm
output.
in jewelry shop and I'm in book shop maybe.
Who is that? Is it not correct? Someone is saying other answer.
I think it will display I'm in jewelry shop.
This is Ashwini. Okay. What about others?
I'm in jewelry shop maybe.
Jewelry.
Because
Who is that?
Rajiv.
Rajiv. Okay. And what about others?
Yeah, I'm in superclass.
Who is that?
Sandeep.
Sandeep. Sandeep is saying superclass. Okay. And anyone? Shall we test? Who will be right?
Yeah.
Who will be right? Let us test. Who won? Not able to understand who won also?
I think I won.
Raju told correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to remember this. Whenever
Because the object is referring to the new this jewelry class, right?
yeah, the concept is like this. When a superclass is holding their subclass object, when you call a method, see this display method is in superclass as well as subclass. Is it correct?
Yeah.
This display method is both in superclass as well as subclass. Which method we have to call depends on the object reference you are passing. If you pass the subclass jewelry shop, the method from jewelry shop will be called. If you pass bookshop, what happens? The method display method from bookshop will be called. Are you able to understand? This is called whenever there is overridden method. If you pass the subclass object, it will that will be invoked. Okay, this is called overriding. Are you able to follow or not? Any doubts?
Yeah, Anil, what is the use of this, like this
I
method, like
will explain the use just now within next couple of minutes. Are you able to understand this concept? Superclass reference can hold any subclass object. If you understand this concept, now I will show you what is the advantage. Suppose if I have two shops, right? I want to call the display method. What I am doing? I am calling the display method using the reference variables. Is it correct? Instead of that, I can create one common method, public void common display, which will take superclass reference okay, and I will simply call display. Okay, see earlier I am using jewelry shop dot display and b shop dot display, right? Now see what I am doing. I have written a common method which is taking the superclass reference, and I'm going to call this method now.
I don't know why my screen is getting stuck.
Oh, is it good now or still the same problem?
Yeah, it's good now. Because I can't understand what you're doing. It's like
Oh,
yeah, you can carry on. I can understand.
I have restarted. Can you see now? Is it? Are you able to see now?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now see what I wrote. I have created one method. Okay, which takes superclass reference. Okay. Now I'm calling that method and see what I'm doing. I'm passing one time the jewelry shop and one time I'm passing bookshop. What will happen? I'm pass the jewelry shop. Jewelry shop is what? It is the subclass object, right? And here bookshop is another subclass. But if you see observe the argument, what it is superclass. That means, as I told you, superclass reference can hold any subclass object. Is it correct? So to this
Okay.
argument at runtime, I can pass any subclass object. I can pass jewelry shop or bookshop. Let me run this and see the output. What happened? This line gets executed. I pass the jewelry shop, and when I say s dot display, what happened at runtime? What object you have passed, that display method gets executed. It won't call the superclass method. At runtime, you have passed the jewelry shop. That is the reason it displayed jewelry shop's display method. And when you pass the bookshop, it is calling the bookshop display. Is it not advantage? I wrote only one method, but in future you may get 100 subclasses, but I have only one method. Using that, at runtime, I can pass n number of arguments and iterate them and call the display method. Instead of writing so many methods, like instead of writing instead of writing two methods to display, what happened? Now suppose if you have another, are you able to understand? If I don't have this this functionality, what will happen? I have to write separate methods which will take the subclass reference and display. But using because of this point, like superclass reference can hold any subclass object, because of this I need not write these many number of methods. I can simply write one method which can take the superclass reference, and using superclass reference I will call the display method, and the display method will be picked up based on the object you are passing. If you pass jewelry shop, the display method from the jewelry shop will be called, and if you pass the bookshop, the display method from the bookshop will be called. Is it clear? Can you see the advantage?
Anil, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Void is used to, you said void does not return anything.
That's correct.
Then how are we able to display the things?
See, return is different and printing is different. Return means this method is returning something. The caller method will get some value. But this is called printing. Printing is not same as return. See, this is some steps being performed by this method. Return means to the caller, whoever calls this method, I am returning some value. See, if you take this example addition, I will add another sysout, system.out.println. Okay, I am in add method. Okay, see, what is the return type of the add? It will sum the two values you are passing, and the sum of the two arguments will be returned. That is called return. Whereas system.I am in add method, it will be just displayed. That's it. Are you able to understand the difference?
Yes.
This just gets printed to the console. That is not returning anything from this method. Whereas return means the sum of these two numbers is being returned to the caller. Who is the caller? Who called this add method? I have used reference variable dot add method, so it will return the sum of the two numbers. That is the reason I am able to store the value in result 2. This is called returning. Clear?
Yes, clear.
Any doubt here? Can you see, all of you, can you see the advantage of this method? Are you able to understand what is the importance of overriding? Can you see the advantage? Like, instead of writing n number of methods with subclass references, just create one method that is with superclass reference and call the method, and the implementation, like if you pass the subclass object, depending on the object you are passing at runtime, that method will be displayed. When you pass to the same superclass, one time I passed the jewelry shop, one time I passed the bookshop. That is the main advantage of the. This is called runtime polymorphism, because the display method behaves different in a different way based on the runtime object you are passing. That is called runtime polymorphism. In the overloading is called compile time polymorphism. Okay, the constructor overloading and the method overloading is called compile time polymorphism, whereas in this, based on the runtime object, it will be decided which method need to be executed. So this is called runtime polymorphism. Only at runtime you will understand which display method has to be executed. This is called runtime polymorphism. Any doubts? Anyone?
Yeah, I'm good.
Even if you have a small doubt, ask me, no problem, I will explain. Even if you say that I didn't understand even one line, I will repeat and I will make you clear. Okay? Don't feel shy that, okay? Don't think that, oh, I didn't understand, it will be problem if I ask. Don't have those kind of inhibitions. Just feel free to ask. So we have covered inheritance, overloading, and overriding. I will explain this protected and default later. Okay, I'm going. Is it okay? Are you able to understand? Shall I tell one more small concept, or is it overloaded already?
Yeah, we'll continue tomorrow, Anil.
Okay. Then we will stop if you don't have any doubts.
I'm fine.
Raju,
I'm good actually.
Raju, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What about Sandeep, Ashwini?
Yeah, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Okay. We will meet again at the same time tomorrow. Do one thing. Tomorrow, all of you do one thing. Like create one super class.
Okay.
Take anything. I have chosen the bookshop example. Don't copy the same. Think of some real world scenarios, like it can be animal or some XYZ. Create some super class. Create some subclasses, and you have to place the common properties in the superclass and write one method in the superclass, and that won't be useful for all the subclasses, right? As we have discussed, like display won't be common for all the classes, right? So I have to override the functionality in the subclasses, and you have to do this kind of thing, like create a method which will take the superclass reference, and based on the runtime it has to execute the corresponding subclass object method. Okay, that is the task you have to do it. Okay, if you don't do it,
Yeah, Anil.
you won't understand.
Yeah, Anil, I forgot to ask you that. Did you mention how to install IDE yesterday, last night?
No, because others told that they know how to install. That's the reason I didn't explain. If you want me, I will show you.
Yeah, can you show me like in a quick?
See, mostly generally a lot of people use Eclipse. That is why I am explaining in Eclipse. There are n number of editors. Even in my system, I have more than 4 editors. I have NetBeans, I have Eclipse.
Usually I use like a notepad just to
Notepad is like
write.
simplistic version. It won't help
Yeah.
you. See,
Yeah.
here see the features. If I simply say,
Yeah, that's what I observed today, sir.
can you see? Automatically, this context help won't
That's
be
good.
available in Notepad. It is very difficult to write
Yeah,
in Notepad. Notepad is like olden days. Okay,
yeah.
just say Java E downloads Eclipse. Okay, just type like this. You are going to one second.
Okay.
See the second URL.
Mm.
I think in the first one itself it has shown. Okay, these are the different types of Eclipse. Okay, mine is like Luna. See,
Okay.
for every release they are going to enhance new things, right? So there are different types of Eclipse versions. So mine is like, this is called Luna. Okay, I think there are many things like after Luna. See, I'm using Luna. After that, Mars came, Neon came, Oxygen came. Okay, these will have some
Okay.
new functionalities which are not there in the previous version. Okay, you can download anything. See, yours will
Yeah,
be
okay. I'll check it out.
64-bit. Just click on that and
Yeah.
it is as simple as installing any other software.
Yeah.
Okay, do one thing. I'm not sure. I didn't use so far these Oxygen and Neon. Maybe you can use either Mars or Luna.
Okay.
Okay, if you can do it
Yeah.
both, it's fine. But because I didn't use, I am not sure what are the new changes. It will work on 99% even with the new things, but better you use Luna for now. Okay, if your system is 64-bit, use this one. Otherwise, use this one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Tomorrow we will meet at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, Anu.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
If you have any doubts,
Bye.
me in WhatsApp. I will answer.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.